Να σας καλησπερίσουμε σήμερα στην σημερινή μας εκδήλωση που αφορά στο τελικό συνέδριο του έργου
The final meeting of the live project. I would like to welcome and thank everybody for their attendance, for those who came in person here or for those who attended digitally. The final conference is organized, coincides with the conclusion of a 5-year project, which has been successfully completed and has the title of Improvement of Coexistence between Bear and Human Beings in the municipality of AMYBEAR. And the results, the outcomes have been really incredible, and you will have the opportunity to learn about them today, in today's session and in the sessions that will follow tomorrow. I would like to thank all project partners without whom the implementation of this project would be impossible. The municipality of AMYBEAR, who extended their hospitality to this project, the decentralized administration of Epirus and Western Macedonia, with the Directorate of Forests, and Callisto, the Wildlife and Nature Conservation Society, with their scientific personnel, which was the core, maybe the most important partner of this project. Certainly, I would like to thank the local society, which has embraced this project and has participated in all the events we have organized so far, and have tried to implement the thematic units proposed, and we hope that we will have the opportunity to cooperate with them again. Let me thank the Chamber of Commerce of Florina, who implemented the project deliverable regarding the logo and the badge awarding of the Brown Bear label to local enterprises. Finally, I would like to thank all the attendants and all speakers, which, apart from contributing with their experience and their good practices in their respective countries or projects, or projects in general about the brown bear. Finally, I would like to thank Mrs. Anita Fascio, responsible for the project and consultant to the project in the executive organization about the climate and the infrastructure with the European Commission, who was of a lot of help, Mrs. Valora, Mrs. Zaharova-Ilo, and Mr. Rdzik, who is with us today, for their support all these years. And we would like to thank all work groups, all the guys who, with a lot of patience and a lot of good spirits, worked on the implementation of this project. Now, after this address, I am the coordinator of the project. I am Elisabeth Pavlidou on behalf of the consultant company Lever essay. And after my address, and after this short introduction, this short background to the project, I would like to ask Mrs. Anita Fazio, member of the European Commission and the executive organization about the climate and the environment, to make an address.
With us. Thank you for everything you have done to support our efforts and to complete with success our project. So, Pasio, you're all yours.
Thank you, thank you very much. I was not sure if I was going to be the very first one to speak. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. So I'm Anita Pasio, Senior Project Advisor or Manager at CINEA ex EASME, so the new Executive Agency for Environment, Climate and Infrastructure. And I'm here with you because I am the project manager of the Life AMYBEAR project that is hosting now this very interesting final conference. And it's with great pleasure and honor that I open the conference, sharing with you some information about the LIFE program and a few thoughts. So LIFE, as many of you probably already know, is the only EU program specifically established to implement environmental and climate action policies. LIFE has been very successful in almost 30 years of its existence. More than 5,000 projects were financed, delivering important results such as protection and conservation of habitats and species of European importance, implementing EU air quality, waste, chemicals, water, and climate policies. Concerning nature and biodiversity specifically, in the European Union, the LIFE program represents by far the largest financial instrument to help EU member states with implementation of conservation activities. It's actually the only one doing this, including mitigation of damages caused by large carnivores. And this is actually the topic of this conference. So as you already know, the brown bear, Ursus arctos, is a priority and strictly protected species according to Annexes 2 and 4 of the Habitats Directive. Until now, around 100 projects on the bear have been financed through LIFE. And this opportunity for direct assistance to member states, NGOs, or other stakeholders continues to be available today, fortunately, still. At the moment, there are actually, I think, 4 ongoing LIFE projects targeting the bear, which is quite a lot considering the number of habitats and species that can be potentially targeted by the program, and considering its limited resources, which actually leads to a rather fierce competition when it comes to the selection of projects. While very early projects, I'm talking about the 90s, were mainly focused on reintroduction only, the potential conflicts between humans and large carnivores has been recognized by many LIFE projects, especially since 2002. And LIFE's contribution to improve human and large carnivore coexistence, notably the brown bear, has been confirmed and is continuing. Spain, Italy, and Greece are the 3 countries with most financed projects targeting this species. The project Life AMYBEAR is coming to an end and has certainly achieved improved human bear coexistence in the municipality of Amintayo, sorry for the pronunciation, but not only, beyond as well, using best practices that you will hear about during the conference, such as the installation of bear-proof refuse containers or electric fences, but also demonstrating new methods and techniques for effectively addressing human-bear interaction and conflict situations. These include, for example, bear aversive conditioning, hotspots. And again, you will hear more about this during during the conference. So the project has not only used tools to keep bears away from human settlements or human activities, but has also aimed at increasing, and this is very important, the tolerance level of specific target groups, for example, livestock breeders, but also at promoting general awareness about the importance of the species and the added value of coexistence. Last but not least, staff of the Forestry Service and other stakeholders involved in the management and conservation of brown bears were trained to guarantee the long-term continuation of the conservation activities implemented by this project. And this is so important. Replication and continuation of activities after the project ends, what we also call long-term sustainability of this public investment, because the money that went into this project is public investment, are crucial for the program. The European Commission has already invested more than 5.5 million euros to support the improvement of the conservation status of the brown bear in the area where the live AMYBEAR project has been implemented. So we imagine this as being a great contribution to the construction of solid grounds for an autonomous management of future conservation activities targeting the species by the local and regional actors, meaning continuing without further need of live investment. However, this is, as you know, and most of you know, for this to be possible, greater efforts are really needed at the national and regional level to reduce dangers posed to the species conservation, for example, when planning and permitting the establishment of wind farms, and to limit possible breaches of the Habitats and the Birds Directive. This can only be achieved if the necessary conservation objectives and measures for all sites designated as special areas of conservation are established at national level. So with this last message and plea to the Greek authorities, I wish you a very fruitful, stimulating, and inspiring conference. Thank you very much. I give the floor back to you.
Now we will pass the floor to Kobilis. Τώρα θα απευθύνει χαιρετισμό ο κύριος.
Will make an address from the Ministry for Environment, and the Assistant Minister Yorgos Amiras. We all know that life started with the support of the Ministry for Environment, and an antenna, a contact point has been created right from the beginning, but the project has been embraced in our country by environmental organizations and institutes and local agencies, and this contact point, we thought that it would have a better dynamic, and today it is enhanced with the support by other organizations, by other national funds. Just to mention how important it is for Greece. Mr. Kipilidis, the floor is yours. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Allow me to speak in English because there are...
My name is Dimitrios Kopiliris. I'm an advisor to Deputy Minister of Environment and Energy, Yorgos Amiras. On behalf of the Deputy Minister, Mr. Amiras, I would like to thank you for the invitation to your final live AMYBEAR conference on human-bear coexistence. As we're seeing increasing incidents of human-bear interactions in areas of Greece, such as Florina and Amydeo, but also other regions in northern Greece, such as Epirus and very recently in the delta of Louvias Axios Aliakmonas. It is crucial to establish good practices for the management of these interactions for the effective protection of the brown bear. Therefore, we believe that the information and outcome of this conference as an endpoint to this dedicated live program, with the collaboration of all involved important stakeholders, such as the European Union, the Green Fund, Callisto, Lever, the regional and local authorities, as well as the local communities, will be very valuable for the future. So on behalf of the Ministry of Environment and Energy and Deputy Minister AMYBEAR, would like to say that he's always open to discussion and suggestions on how we can move forward, building on the gained experience that will be presented today and tomorrow. And on this, we want to wish you every success in your conference. Thank you again.
Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ, κύριε Κοπηλίδη, για την...
Mr. Kopilidis, we thank you for this address on behalf of Mr. AMYBEAR. Your presence here is so important. It has been an honor to us. On this, I grasp this opportunity to tell you that there is a simultaneous translation from Greek into English and vice versa. And you can choose either possibility to speak in English or in Greek. But my suggestion is that the presentations of Greek people must be in Greek. Mr. Kopilidis did not know about that yet. Now we'll continue with the mayor, Mr. Pitakis, the mayor of Amindeo. You can come to the podium.
Καλησπέρα. Να καλωσορίσω τους εκλεκτούς προσκεκλημένους, αυτούς που μας παρακολουθούν διαζώσεις.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome our distinguished guests, those watching us from this venue and online. Welcome to a space, an area, a region, which is closely linked not only to wine and vineyards, but also closely linked to four lakes, a mountainous range, and wild nature as a result. Therefore, this final conference, the final stage of implementation of the LIFE AMYBEAR project will provide the very useful information we need so that this identification between the municipality Amindeo and wild nature and the environmental footprint of our region will continue into the future. I would like to thank all those who took part in the implementation of this project, the decentralized administration, Callisto Wildlife Organization, the municipality of Amindeo, and all officials who contributed to the successful implementation of the program. The situation today, nevertheless, makes it even more imperative to make a shift towards alternative products, whether we are talking about tourism products or primary products, primary sector products, or the option of promoting the environmental and ecological footprint of the region. This is a very vital necessity for the municipality of Amindeo because the municipality is currently facing decarbonization as a prospect and needs to change its production and developmental model as a result, on which its economy was based thus far. This is a one-way road forward, and we need for this reason to take advantage of the strategic advantages of the region, one of which is wild nature, the famous ecological products produced locally, its tourism product and culture, and much more. That's why I consider This initiative particularly successful and very useful because the European initiatives undertaken to support such initiatives and municipalities are very successful in changing production model of the past. Those of us listening to us from afar should know that the municipality of Amyndio was financially dependent on carbon for power generation, and as a result of the correct decision of the EU to go forward with the Green Deal, as a result, requires support from Europe in order to be able to promote this alternative product that it can offer and communicate this to the world. I'm not going to add anything more because I don't want to take up time from the presentations that will follow. Once again, thank you for coming and for joining us. Thank you for all the work that you have done so far. I wish you every success and the most optimal results from the conference itself. Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to mention also that yes, the region has been a pioneer with regard to the issues that we're going to be discussing today, starting, as you well know, in the early 90s, through the implementation of one of the first LIFE projects, not only in Greece but in Europe. It was the program LIFE Arctos, which was used to create also the infrastructure in Nympheo that was financed through the program, which really helped to revive Nympheo and the broader area. So these are not fictional scenarios that the mayor is speaking about. They are realistic. We have viewed their outcome and we can do even more. The good news is that unofficially we have the information that a new LIFE project will begin in this region, Mayor, and the municipality once more will be a partner of the project, which is fantastic news. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Protopapas, representing the Green Fund. He is the director of the Green Fund, has personally acted for years as the link between Greece and the European Commission and the LIFE program. Furthermore, he is also currently representing an institution that financially supported the project in question that we are discussing today, so I think we can give him the floor to speak about the project on behalf of the Green Fund. Good evening. Thank you, Spiros, for the introduction. It's a great pleasure always for me to participate in live project events through my role from 2010 as a national contact point. I have often had the opportunity to work with Mrs. Fash also within the framework of various projects. I'm here as director of the Green Fund, and I would like to say that the participation of the Green Fund in the project is not only symbolic but very substantial. You potentially know that the goal of the Green Fund is to help development through environmental protection. We support projects through interventions, projects and actions that aim at the restoration of the environment and at dealing with climate change. We valorize and manage green resources through financial programs that support the environmental policy of Greece in order to serve the social and economic interest of the country. The valorization of these resources which result from interventions on the environment return to the environment already invested in it. It is from the Green Fund provides subsidies to the private and public sector, aiming at the protection, upgrading, and restoration of the environment. In 2021, the budget of the Green Fund was 140 million euros. Only 2.5% of the cash flow available is used annually. Unfortunately, this is given to various environmental projects, including the LIFE program from Europe, whose budget in 2021 was 3 million euros. For the participation of the Green Fund in LIFE projects, its role is either partner or lead partner and covers also part of the own contribution of Greece in the program on behalf of the beneficiaries. Within this framework, the Green Fund co-finances the LIFE AMYBEAR project. And from looking at the financial analysis of the project, we see that the Green Fund had provided 109,000 euros to the project, to the decentralized administration, to Callisto and Liber. There is a number of actions and deliverables associated to the project. In 2021, in the relevant financing program, following the positive evaluation of Callisto, 200,000 has been allocated for eligible expenses. Within this framework, the overall support from the Green Fund for the project is 127,000 euros, reflecting the importance of the project according to the priorities of the European Union and those of Greece regarding environmental protection. Dear organizers, in closing, I would like to thank you for your invitation. I would like to wish you every success. Congratulate you for the process of the project so far, of the results, and would like to wish you all the best for the conference beginning today. So we wish you all the best with regard to valorization and bear coexistence conditions. Thank you very much, Mr. Prodopoulos. I would also like to introduce myself. My name is Psarouda Spiros. I'm the head of the environmental organization Callisto. We were partners of the program and along with the other partners took part in its implementation. In the past, I was also a member of the board of the Green Fund, as Mr. Prodopoulos knows, and Yannis also, that the Green Fund is very important indeed in supporting actions related to the natural environment of Greece, and also how important it is for this percentage of available resources from the Green Fund to be increased. Only 2.5% of its resources can be valorized to the same. The rest is used to service our debt. And even for this 2.5%, we often came under pressure regarding the way in which it was valorized from the various EU institutions. It's very important that this percentage is gradually increased, at least, so that it can further contribute to the natural environment and its upgrading. The managing authorities of protected areas after all, managed to survive after a decision was made for them to be supported by the Green Fund. Now, on behalf of OPACA, of the Organization of the Natural Environment and Climate Change, could you address the conference, please? Mr. Mitsopoulos is the General Director of the Organization for the Natural Environment and Climate Change. He is going to be a speaker later on today, and we'll be discussing the issues that you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, the certification of products in protected areas. But I think he can also say a couple of words at the opening on behalf of the organization he represents. Good afternoon. My name is Mr. Yannis Mitsopoulos, and I am the General Director of the Natural Environment and Climate Change Agency. About a year ago, for those of you who are not aware of it, this organization was established through a law of 2020 and basically undertakes all the governance and management of the Natura 2000 protected areas in Greece. This need arose as a result of various weaknesses which were observed when we studied the existing system. There were various management authorities that worked very well. However, there were some which did not follow the same route or did not run as quickly as others. So it was decided to create a central coordinating body that would provide uniform, homogeneous guidelines to the management of these areas. Now, with regard to the Life AMYBEAR project, we consider it to be of great importance. Through the Life IP for Natura program that you will be presented with tomorrow, OPECA is one of the partners. Callisto has already elaborated an action plan on a national scale for actions regarding the conservation of brown bear populations. Next week, this will be forwarded to Mr. Amiras's office, and we hope that we will have its ministerial approval soon. And through resources from the new programming period 2021-2027, where priority actions for the next 6 years for protected areas, 1 billion euros will be allocated with regard to secured funding. We hope to be able to implement, if not all, but at least most of these actions, which will be very important indeed. That is all from me at the moment, and I wish you every success in today's event. Thank you very much.
Finally, I would like to ask the president of the administrative board of Callisto to say a few words about in this final meeting of this project. He will continue to be active in this area as we have to do. Good afternoon. I would like to thank the mayor for his hospitality. The mayor of Amyndio was in the center of Amyndio. The tourism yesterday, the bears today. We thank him for his hospitality. These kind of actions must absolutely continue. There will be a new life program. This must embrace all these activities, and it will be very useful for the results of the project. I will not talk about the hard actions, but they play an important role. I will only talk about the actions that the people, the local community must embrace, especially this label, this bear label. Mr. Amiras, Mr. Zacharaki announced various actions about mountain tourism, and this label, this bear label must be promoted, must be presented on a central level, and the beginning must, and we must begin from somewhere on the Greek level. With this, we have contributed in this cyclical economy, bioeconomy, biological tourism, ecotourism, and local communities must embrace these activities. The LIFE program must become more known, the natural environment and the species must be protected, and all these results must be translated into gains for the local economy and to a better standard of life. I thank you for this 17-year course. Our company is active in Pindos, in Epirus, in Macedonia, in Thrace. We try to have the best possible results with the help, with the contribution of local community. We are active from our offices, but it is impossible to do anything without the contribution of local stakeholders and the local community. I hope that the results, the outcomes of this project, the deliverables will be the start for a new life projects and many more projects. I thank you, Maria. Now I will give the floor to Mrs. Pavlidou, who is going to present, to give an overview of the Life AMYBEAR project, its objectives, its goals, and its main actions. My presentation is a brief description of what has been done during this 5-year project. In the following sessions, each of the 5 thematic units will be developed in more detail, so that to provide you with more information about each one of the thematic actions, which were the activities, how they were planned, how they were designed, how they were implemented, and how they were monitored, and finally, which results they delivered. The title of this project is the improvement of coexistence conditions, man-bear coexistence conditions in the municipality of Amindeo. But Florina, in a lesser degree, was also inside the project area. The involvement with Amindeo was more about local involvement, involvement of the local community, and of the label, the BEAR label. As I said, the area is the Western Macedonia, municipality of Aminto and Florina. The budget of the project is €1,521,000. EU financing is €1,140,000. Its duration is 62 months, start date 1st of October 2016, end date 30th of November 2021. Apart from the level development consultant, who is the coordinating beneficiary, as I said in the beginning, the partnership scheme of the project is composed of the decentralized administration of Epirus and Northern Macedonia, Amindeo municipality, and Callisto. Apart from the EU financing, the project is funded by the Green Fund. And the own funds, the own resources of participating partners. The aim of the project is the conservation of the bear on a sustainable level, and the specific objectives of the project is to diminish the mortality of this species caused by man. This has been attained by men, by the project. And in the period of the project, we had 7 deaths of bears from human causes, caused by humans. To maintain the number of the yearly reproductive females at a percentage of 10 to 12% of the minimum estimated bear population, which has been achieved actually, since based on the genetic analysis, we saw that reproductive females are more or less 50 individuals, which is bigger than 12%, which was set in the beginning. It is 19 individuals, reproductive females, the population of the area. Despite this fact, this population must be protected, because this number, which is under 50, creates a problem in the genetic variability, the inbreeding, and endangers the biodiversity of the bear population and may put in danger the existence of these species. Apart from that, it was also one of the aims was to improve the tolerance level of specific target groups regarding their coexistence with the targeted species. So many meetings with social partners were organized, briefing meetings, and through this process, we have managed to improve these conditions of coexistence. And they have been measured. This has been proved. Another aim was to improve the awareness level of people so that to make them understand that apart from the environmental value of the bear for the area, it is very important for the touristic development growth of the area. And through specific seminars by Callisto trainers, seminars, workshops have been organized to stakeholders who deal with bears, such as the forestry department, the forest authorities, not only of Florina, but on the level of the whole region of Epirus and Western Macedonia. Now, let's come to the actions. It is the project could not be implemented and the results couldn't be sustainable if we hadn't involved the local community and the key stakeholders of the area. For this reason, initially, and on the front of the participation of the local community, we made an analysis to see who were those key stakeholders that could participate in the project and who were their members, with the aim to initially record the existing situation, to record what they know about the practices of bear management, and more specifically, the management of bears in cases of their approaching to inhabited settlements, and about the livestock guard stocks, as well as the electric fences. 11 workshops have taken place so that to see their strengths and their strong and their weak points, who are farmers, beekeepers, animal farmers, forest authorities, members of environmental organizations, local authorities, chambers of commerce. So we recorded their opinions on an individual level to see what are the possibilities, what they know about all this, so that to understand what are the possibilities to implement these actions. After that, we organized discussions of groups, mixed groups, to open a discussion on the various possibilities and the various barriers to the implementation of the actions. After that, we proceeded to consultation and our active involvement. 11 workshops were organized where we discussed where we presented the practices of the project, and we discussed with them about how to adapt them to local conditions, to the local context. Next, we made a survey in order to record the behaviors and their perceptions regarding the protection and the management of this species. At the end of the project, we created 3 scenarios, the scenario which resulted from the initial analysis about the existing situation, that is, where we were at that moment, the scenario with a minimal effort, practices that were implemented in the live projects, and through consultation and opinion exchanging, view exchanging, we proposed another scenario, which is the best scenario, aiming at monitoring the implementation of the activities and the results after the end of the project, in order to recognize how perceptions, how views have changed regarding conservation and of the bear more in particular. Another research survey was conducted in order to compare results with the first survey, to look for any changes in perceptions and behaviors. The next action is the assessment of the bear's population. To do that, the municipality of Aminteo assigned a study to the workshop of molecular analysis of the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, an analysis of genetic material. The material used was hair traps, hairs which were collected through hair traps. You can see here the installation of the hair traps on power poles. And here at the bottom, you can see the positions where these traps were installed. 2 series of analyses were made. The first in the beginning in 2017, and the second started in 2019 and was completed in the year 2020, to see if something has changed and to verify the results of the first analysis. In the first case, we collected 250 specimens, samples, and through these analyses, we have some results, some conclusions in both analyses. The number in both analyses was measured biogenetic material was collected from 56 unique individuals of bears who live in the area or who have their den there. Having these data from the workshop of molecular analysis, they calculated that the estimated population is 154, and based on the second analysis, 161. Between 154 and 161 individuals live or pass through this area. I told you in the beginning about the number of reproductive females. Again, through this analysis, it was estimated that their number was less than 50 individuals. That based on international literature, the number must be above 50, otherwise there is a problem of inbreeding. The risk otherwise is to diminish the biodiversity of these species, and as a result, the decrease of the population in the area. This is why the population of the bear in the area needs a very special management. Another important action of the program was the mapping of the areas. The mapping of the areas where the conflicts and the interaction between humans and bears is highly probable. We needed 4 actions. The first was about the sampling surveys, as you can see here. A collection of traces and of excrements. Here we have the recording of the biogenetic material. 350 bear bioindices were collected. And here on the map, you can see the points where these 350 bear bioindices were identified. Apart from that, we installed IR camera traps, infrared camera traps, to see how bears move in the area and to record their activity. In these photographs, you can see the positioning, the installation of the cameras in the forest, and here you can see some photos from the shots taken. This was done by the scientists of Callisto. 1,612 trapping days, 59,000 frames, and 300 bear events were recorded thanks to these infrared camera traps. Here we can see the positions where we installed the cameras. A next action was the radio tagging of 4 adult males. You can see again the staff of Callisto who placed the traps. They captured for a while these males, these male bears, to put the tag. This is a very characteristic, a very typical photo. Is Mr. Dragos here? Mr. Tsaknakis, who recognized him? Congrats. Here, a close-up photo. Thanks to these radio tags, we're collecting telemetric data. This radio tagging was very important also for the positioning of the warning sounds and the reflectors on the road network. Finally, we conducted field data collection through dissemination of questionnaires and through interviews, and we photographed the places where the interviewees said that these cases of interaction were observed. You can see here the various colors, high risk of interaction, lesser chances, etc., etc. So the red one is high risk. The other action was to install warning signs and deterrents for safer road network. Those of you who came here today using the highway, you may have noticed them. You can see here is the new and the old highway Caminde-on-Vervi. You can see the course followed by the bear to cross the road. At this point exactly are the two sections of the road, the new and the old highway. At these points we installed reflectors. The study for the installation of these reflectors was done by Mr. Iliopoulos, who is going to talk by himself on that. I'll just give you the positions of the installation of the reflectors. Here are the points for the positioning of warning signs. These are the bigger ones, blue, less big, and green small. The big four, they are installed in these places. There are 2, 8, and 18, respectively. Small 2, medium 8, and large 18. The other way around, actually. WWRRA in Aminteo, and here are the reflector and the sound reflectors. When the light comes from when the lights of the car approach, it is a sound sign is emitted that deters the animals to cross the road. There is a video, you are going to see this video tomorrow, where you can see a bear which retreats when she hears the sign. In the period up to 2020, at these specific points where the reflectors were installed, 16 bears were killed in road accidents, and from since June 2020, after the installation of these reflectors and warning signs, no accidents have been observed. Maybe it is just coincidence, but it is an indication that we are doing that this might be successful, especially with regard to the reflectors, to light reflectors. Sometimes Greek are not conforming people to the road signs, the warning signs. So the majority of Greek people, not all Greek people, naturally. The study about the installation of reflectors, WWR, and sound reflectors was made by Callisto. The competition was organized by the region of Macedonia, Western Macedonia and Epirus, and the supervising authority was the regional unit of Florina. We have shells for garbage bins. A shell was created with a specific lever so that for the people to open it easily and to facilitate the collection by the municipality personnel. And here is we monitored to see how people behave, how people use these containers when we have cases of approaches of the bear to see if they can deter, if these special bins may deter these bears. As I said, 22 such containers were installed in 7 local communities and in 2 phases. In the beginning, we installed 10 bins, but we saw that there were some problems in the use of the lever, so the second batch was better as far as the design and their construction is concerned. The first phase, in the second phase, in the third case, and in the fourth case. Ασπρόγεια, σκλήθρο, αετός, νυμφαίο, and the number of the corresponding number of containers. Apart from the installation of these garbage bins, which were under the responsibility of the municipality of Amynteo, there were other actions made by Callisto. Another action was the installation of electric fences. The municipality of Amynteo was responsible for this implementation. He invited farmers, animal farmers, beekeepers, informing them and asking them if they wanted these fences, this type of fence, and what type of fence they would prefer to the meters of the fence and the type of the fence. Again, there were many obstacles regarding the competition, the call for proposals, and in August 21, we received these fences. It was in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, And in September 2020, these fences were distributed. 38 out of them were given to the beneficiaries who had applied. 5 e-fences were given to Callisto, 11 e-fences were given to the municipality of Amindeo. Another action was the development of a stock breeder network for distributing livestock guarding dogs. Veterinarians, Callisto veterinarians, visited other colleague veterinarians of the areas to inform them about the action, to control that, to check the dogs they have in their flocks, to check their morphological characteristics and their behavior in cases of aggressions. After that, the network was created, initially a small one, with just 12 members. Today, it is comprised of 21 members, with 29 of them being owners who donate the cubs not only to the municipality of Amindon, but in the broader area and in other areas. 28 LGDs have been donated during the project, and 66 of them were puppies and 12 of them were adults. In addition, as all of you know, despite the strict legislation and despite the fact that the Greek law does not permit the use of poisons, this is not done in the area. For this reason, many dogs and many other animals are killed because of poisons used by some people who want, for various reasons, for the usual reasons. But many animals die from these poisons, especially dogs. For this reason, the municipality of Amindeo, in cooperation with Callisto and their partners, an anti-poison first aid kit was produced and disseminated with active coal, with carbon, with active carbon, and vitamin K as a coagulant in case of a hemorrhage. All these will be explained in detail by my colleague Alexis Giannapokopoulos. 600 such kits were produced and 51 were used. 27 dogs were saved. We saved the life of 50 of these dogs. But apart from that, the distribution was made through meetings with animal farming cooperatives and hunter associations. We gave them instructions about how to use this first aid anti-poison toolkit. It must used immediately by the hunter or the animal farmer, so that to give the animal the time to be transported to a specialized facility for help. We also have the bear emergency team, Actually, there are more bear emergency teams which were created under a decision, ministerial decision regarding cases of interaction, of conflict between animals and men and humans, especially in the areas where such events are identified. That operating in Florida was supported by Callisto personnel participating in the group and also with funds, as well as with the purchase of equipment. From 17 through 21, we had 52 intervention cases. Most of them are in the summer and autumn months. And here you can see the seasonal distribution of the cases. Here you can see the distribution by type of case. Most of them is approaching to human settlements. After that, another one is various damages to farming and agricultural activities, poaching, trapping, human attack, marginal occurrence. All these will be presented in more detail by Mr. Yorgos Mertzanis. As I said, we had an enhancement, a support of the bear emergency team by the personnel of Callisto. And we had a supply of equipment, scarecrow, supersonic horn, critter jitter, food trap with pepper spray, Here we can see a bait, a food bait. When it goes to the bean, the spray is released and she is deterred. She has a negative experience, and then this is impressed in her memory. There's also a kit with equipment. We had a lot of difficulty with that. This equipment is mostly used in Canada, and it is the first time it is used in Greece. It has this equipment. It has whistles, various similar to fireworks anyway. And these, all this was ordered, was produced. We produced 45 such kits with equipment, and apart from the Directorate of Forests, who received them, they will be distributed to other forest authorities in order to help them to manage these cases. We also said that we must give to the local people, help the local people realize the value of bears and how this can be very helpful for tourism, for the touristic growth of the area. The first thing to this end is to to shield these businesses against the presence of bears in their properties and use these deterrence measures. So we created a standard for the award of a local bear label. Again, the Chamber of Commerce was responsible for the management and the awarding of the label in cooperation with Lever, who developed the standard. The standard contains criteria and obligations, better requirements for the businesses to be able to be awarded this label. The first category of criteria are compulsory criteria regarding the legal operation of the business, and naturally to be inside the implementation area of the project. The second is about general requirements regarding cooperation with other local enterprises, participation in information and training activities for the improvement of the coexistence between bear and humans, and implementation of environmental management policy. Thus, we try to show to the businesses what are the requirements of the project and how they can implement environmental friendly measures, for example, water management, refuse management, etc. The third set of criteria are specific requirements for enterprises located in areas of high interaction and have to do with the use of fences, storage of organic waste in inaccessible places, guarding of livestock, and use of other deterrents, similar to the ones we presented previously. So these are the three sets of criteria included in the standard, and depending on the level of conformity of each business, the business is assigned a different label: gold, silver, and bronze. But all these will be presented by Mr. Katsas more in detail. Another important thing was environmental education activities. Two paths were designed, one around the lake of Petra to showcase the wealth, the natural wealth of the area, the rich flora and fauna, and the other path from Apoia to Nympheo, which is within the forest. It is the bear path. We produced leaflets and educational guides to help this process. Science and environmental interpretation boards were installed along the paths so that visitors could see what are the places, the spots of interest. 3 seminars were conducted, one for teachers, one for environmental education specialists, and one for students. And finally, 2 virtual guided tours for teachers and journalists took place. So we recorded the path. And we gave instructions on these videos. Here you can see some of the material which has been produced. The leaflet took an award in an event. And there are also videos, you're going to see them tomorrow, to watch them tomorrow. There are more actions, for example, production and production of leaflets for the project itself, production and disseminating of TV and radio spots, informative and educational events, networking with other projects, but not only, publications in scientific journals and participation in conferences. Another important thing is especially regarding the first actions of the project about the population of bears. And about the distribution for the recognition of high-risk points. We gave internships for 8 students, 5 Greek students and 3 from European universities. And this is the final conference. We've also created our website. We are present in the social media, Facebook, Twitter, and we are present also on YouTube. Thank you for your attention. I hope I gave you an overview of the project.
Thank you, Elisabeth. We are unfortunately a bit late in relation to the agenda for today. So how would you like us to continue? So the first speaker in session 1 is Tasos Chouvardas, who is going to speak to us through teleconference. I hope he's ready. Elisabeth has already mentioned some information regarding the involvement of stakeholders in the protection and management of the brown bear. Tasos Chouvardas will be giving us more information, more details regarding this topic. Thank you, Spiros. Can you hear me? Yes, we can. Hello. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you now. Can you see my slides? Yes? Very well. Okay. My name is Tasos Chouvardas. On behalf of Callisto, I'm in charge of actions A1, C1, and D1. The human dimensions actions in life, AMYBEAR, which have to do with the involvement of the local community and stakeholders in the AMYBEAR project. Spiros, can you turn off your microphone? Because there's an echo. It's off, actually. Okay, let me move on. So Elisabeth has already spoken extensively about what happened in these actions. In the first, we recorded the situation as it was when the program began in 2017. We had focus groups and interviews with stakeholder groups and social partners in order to arrive at an analysis which is similar to having a SWOT analysis where we identified strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we had SWOT analysis of each reference group and elements which had to do with the relationships between the various stakeholders groups in relation to the protection of the brown bear. Here we see an example of this table. I'm not going to go into many details. We have some qualitative data here, which we analyze in this way. Here we see in the columns the various interested parties, the stakeholders. In the first two rows, we see the strengths and weaknesses, the in-group characteristics that favor or prohibit good practices with regard to bear protection. And then in the next two rows, we see the relationships between the groups that either again favor or hinder optimal management of brown bears. I'm going to stop at one point regarding dogs in the region. Here we see, unfortunately, that because of the poison baits, animal breeders do not invest in their dogs. They are prepared to invest very little in their dogs, which is a very big problem, as we shall see later on. Second action, here we have no recording, but the involvement of stakeholders, consultation and involvement. As Elizabeth said earlier, we organized coordination workshops, that is, meetings with the social partners and stakeholders, and distributed a questionnaire through which we aimed to record specific behaviors and trends in a broader framework. We collected 150 questionnaires. We analyzed the information using qualitative data from the coordination workshops, and we see here this table, where on the left we see a column that has to do with the direct intervention groups and the brown emergency teams and waste management systems. On the first row, we see the benefits and added value of innovation and change, and on the second row, the cost connected to the implementation of best practices, unintended consequences of innovation and change that we were not able to comprehend or pinpoint in advance before the implementation of these actions, which is why it was important to undertake this consultation and involvement workshop. So let me highlight one thing. We have the latent and still existent attitude on an individual, institutional, and stakeholder level that NGOs own bears, which does not allow for an effective operation of the bear emergency teams. This was a very characteristic element that kept coming up. Third action, I'm going through them very fast because I only have 20 minutes to speak. We're going to come back to the most important issues at the end. So the third action is a monitoring action where we carried out two things. We developed some scenarios regarding the adoption of best practices by all stakeholders. And based on these scenarios, during the program, we would be able to monitor the implementation of these best practices. These scenarios, however, are also very important for the afterlife plan also. And given the approval of the new life program, which includes the municipality of Amindo, this information can be valorized for the future also. The second level of this action was a survey through which 150 questionnaires were gathered, and the relevant data was analyzed a few weeks ago. So one issue that arises from this has to do with the various scenarios. In the best case scenario, we look at the possibility of combining deterrent methods with the compensation. This could be done by ELGA by connecting damage prevention measures with the awarding of compensation if required. Now, going from left to right, we started with interviews and focus groups. We moved from coordination workshops to thematic groups. where we had the application of the actions, adoption of best practices. We distributed the questionnaires. Then we had monitoring and a second round of questionnaires. A follow-up survey on stakeholder perceptions and behavior in order to see what had changed compared to 2018 when the initial data was gathered until 2021 when the second questionnaire was distributed. And this is the data from the sample from the first and second questionnaire selection. We see the variables describing the sample. A large number of residents of the municipality of Mindio in the sample, residents occupied in primary sector activities, foresters. In the first pre-intervention sample, we also had residents of the municipality of Florina, but in the second we did not. However, in the second we had members of the Chamber of Commerce in Florina and employees of the municipality of Mindio. We see information about gender of those interviewed. Differences in gender, age, and education mainly have to do with the two new stakeholder groups that were included in the second questionnaire. Members of the chamber, that is, and employees of the municipality. In the second intervention, we also had more women. The interviewees were of a lower age group, and a higher number of those answering the questionnaire had completed higher education, not many changes in mean monthly income. Let's look at the results. So what were the changes that took place from 2018 to 2021 with regard to how the local community and stakeholders perceive all that Elizabeth has mentioned and what we will be discussing in the conference from now on? Let's start from this table. So here we talk about self-reported knowledge. It's not knowledge that we have scientifically tested. It's knowledge according to what has been reported by the stakeholders. Regarding the first table, we see results that have to do with interventions in the road network. First row, pre-intervention data, and second row, post-intervention data. That's the way in which all tables will be presented. So pre-intervention was prior to 2018. Post-intervention data from 2021. In the second column, I know some things, but I wish to learn more. On the left, my knowledge is not sufficient, and my knowledge is sufficient, as you can see. So in the case of the road network and the interventions to it, we see that the number of people who said my knowledge is not sufficient went down. More people in 2021 said that they knew some things but wished to learn more. And almost double the number of people considered their knowledge was sufficient in 2021 regarding interventions in the road network, which shows that the provision of information was quite adequate. Moving to electric fences and respondents involved in primary sector activities. First row, pre-intervention data 2018. Second row, post-intervention data 2021. So again, fewer people said that their knowledge was not sufficient. More people said that they knew some things about them but wished to learn more, and more people said that their knowledge was sufficient, which means that to a lesser degree, in this case also, we see that there was a relevant increase in knowledge, self-reported knowledge. This is about 1/10 of all the results that we have available due to the lack of time, but when the relevant deliverables are completed, all this information will be handed over. Nevertheless, we can say that overall there was an improvement in self-reported knowledge items, and it was highest for employees of the Forest Service and residents by live AMYBEAR actions, as you can see on the screen. In the next slide, we see something that is also important, mainly for Callisto itself in this case. And that's why I think it's important to remember this. Let's look at the interaction and trust with environmental NGOs. So there are two questions in this table. Discuss issues referring to bears with any of the following social actors. So many stakeholders were involved in this, including NGOs. Second question, how much do you trust the following social actors when discussing with them about bears? So let's look at the percentage that has to do with environmental NGOs, and we see outside the parentheses the change in percentage before and after. So for the residents in the municipality of Amindo, 23.14% increase in the number of people who said that they do discuss issues referring to bears with environmental NGOs. So this shows also an increase in trust shown by the shareholders towards this stakeholder. The residents of the municipality of Mindo showed in this way that they also talk more and trust more any environmental NGO. The second column is even more important. Involves the respondents who deal with primary sector activities, and in this case, the percentage of interviewees who said that in 2021 they discussed issues referring to bears with any of the social actors showed a very significant increase. And in the second question also, the increase was even higher. And for employees of the Forest Service, again, regarding discussions with any of the following social actors, again, there was an increase. And in the case of trust, we saw again an increase, particularly higher with regard to the residents of Amindo municipality involved in primary sector activities. This table has to do with issues related to what Elisabeth was talking about earlier. As I said, there are loads of answers included in this survey. So we see pre-intervention and post-intervention data regarding stakeholder attitudes. So with regard to the statement, bears today are more than the region can sustain. Pre-intervention data, 0.27%. And a significant reduction in post-intervention data in the case of the residents of the municipality of Amindo. This potentially also means that there's a high degree of tolerance amongst the residents as a result of the interventions in 2021. There was also a decrease in the number of respondents involved in primary sector activities who answered this statement. All these scores have to do with Likert scale items, where we have a scale from -2 to 2. And there's also a reduction in the number of employees of the Forest Service who believe that bears are more than the region can sustain in 2021. In question number 21, we asked about the threat from bears for local residents and whether it is quite high even within villages. Well, compared to the data collected in 2018-2021, we see that the residents of the municipality of Amindo answered this question with a much lower percentage in 2021. Those involved in the primary sector more or less gave the same answer to both questionnaires. While in the case of the employees of the Forest Service, we had a smaller number of people who actually felt this threat. With regard to the threat from bears for stakeholders, those involved in primary sector activities, as we said, showed no decrease in the level of threat that they feel in 2018 and 2021. This is a different thematic area. the statement is that the BEAR presence may be utilized for increasing the added value of agricultural products. We have answers from 2018, 2021, and we see that the residents and municipality of Amindo agreed to this to a higher percent in 2021. With regard to respondents in primary sector activities, farmers, beekeepers, etc., we see that we go from a negative viewpoint to a positive viewpoint, while the employees of the Forest Service seem not to have been convinced by this statement. So the percentage does not change. Question 26. The BEAR presence may offer substantial development opportunities in the area. An increase is observed with regard to the residents in the municipality of Amindo who believe this statement. Also, the number of respondents involved in the primary sector activities also agree to this statement, whereas the employees of the Forest Service seem, again, to be very hesitant. So the people of the municipality of Amindo and those involved in primary sector activities agreed with the statement. And this leads to the conclusion that tourism based on BEAR presence was more supported than certification of agricultural products and services in the total sample, as well as by members of the Chamber of Commerce of Florina. So we need to see how we are going to shed light on parts of the process which may not have become fully understood in order to improve the results in the immediate future. Let's now move on to what we describe as consensus estimates, where we want to see how the stakeholders view the other groups. So we asked the groups in 2018 and 2021 the following. Would you take part in a stakeholder meeting on the BEAR? And the answers are very high, reach very high percentages. We see that pre-intervention data results were 88%. So we had already started from a very high percentage. Another question that we asked in 2018 and 2021 was whether you would take part in a bear protection program. Once again, the percentages are very high, pre and post intervention. However, what's important even more for the future and what we need to keep in mind for the afterlife and the new life project is the consensus estimates. That is, how the interviewees assess what the stakeholders would answer. So out of 100 residents in the region, how many do you think would agree to take part in a stakeholder meeting on the bear or in a bear protection program? We see negative figures in the final column, which means that those asked actually thought that very fewer people would be interested in taking part in such a meeting or program. They underestimate the number of people who were actually interested in taking part in such a meeting or program. And this can be scientifically explained by the fact that there was much greater interaction potentially between Callisto and the stakeholders in the local community rather than between the stakeholders themselves within the framework of the Life AMYBEAR project. The stakeholders with one another have not really mingled greatly from an experiential perspective so that all this information could be diffused effectively and this error could be corrected. So we see that this error remains in the results, which means that the next interventions in the region should not address only separate stakeholder groups, but combine them. And there, in this case, I believe that a great role can be played by initiatives involving mild forms of development such as tourism. So let's talk about now a selection of main findings and implications that came out of this project and the relevant survey. It was a double survey, 150 questionnaires in 2018 and another 150 in 2021. Not the same interviewees, however, in both cases, but they were collected in such a way that can assure us that we have all those directly involved answering: beekeepers, farmers, animal breeders, residents of Amindo, employees of the forestry services, etc., etc. And I can give you more information about this later on if you wish. So let's look at the main findings and implications. First of all, improvement of self-reported knowledge for stakeholder groups. Apart from the implementation of good practices, as you see here, Life AMYBEAR had a great impact on improving intergroup relations and in establishing trust between the stakeholders. Another very important finding was this, and there seem to be many benefits that we can harness for the future if we continue with outreach initiatives and stakeholder engagement actions. With regard to attitudes, we see that there's a moderate increase of tolerance of the local community towards the presence of the bears. And the next bullet indicates that a lot of information that has to do with the adoption of best practices has to do with context dependency and complexity, which is related to the local context. The increased tolerance of the local community towards bear presence is very important. Nevertheless, let's also see which points we need to pay more attention to. Qualitative findings. The latent and the still existent attitude that ENGOs own bears, this is something that should be avoided. They are owned by the whole of Greek society, and we should all be involved in their protection and preservation. Secondly, the adaptation of the waste management system necessitates a thorough redesign of logistics so that we create bear-proof litter bins as part of the supply chain, which of course increases, these special containers increase the time required for collection of litter. A third bullet point, many producers may deviate from good practices in obtaining and setting up the electric fence in order to decrease total costs. This needs to be looked at. Certain specifications of imported equipment do not fit in with a local context with regard to the electric fences once again, and this needs to be configured. And it is something that we have mentioned to the coordination labs. We also have producers, mainly beekeepers, who are not registered. They're not farmers by profession, therefore not eligible for subsidies available in the Rural Development Program, which is also something that we need to address. To continue with the main findings and implications, here we see this transparency that has to do with the livestock guarding dogs. A lot of animal farmers did not want to invest in their dogs and therefore do not want to be part of the livestock guarding dog exchange network, given the risk of losing their dogs to poison baits. And also this reluctancy to join the LGD network is that there is an increased investment, the care, training, etc. of the dogs. Third point, here again we deviate from good practices in order to decrease the cost of maintaining LGDs by stock breeders, which means that they reduce the veterinary care given to the animals. Furthermore, many stock breeders manage their dogs as consumables, following minimal cost investment per dog. Therefore, a broadening of the network for exchanging LGDs in the project area needs to be conceptualized as a type of collective action problem. It doesn't have to do with each individual stock breeder, but within a broader area that have specific problems such as the poison baits. The relationships also between the stock breeders, which may be friendly or may hinder the operation of the network, etc. And this is a final transparency. Please, could we come to the conclusion? I think this is your final slide. Yes, it is. So 4 points before I conclude. In many cases, in relation to this experience from social action, there were positive feedback loops. I don't invest my dogs. There are poison baits in my area. We have death of dogs due to poison dates, but I still don't invest in my dogs. If we don't address these positive feedback loops, then many things cannot be achieved to the maximum extent, and we won't have the success that is possible. Many of these situations often do not depend only on one stakeholder changing his or her attitude. We need a collective reaction. The paradox in these cases is this. The anti-poison kit used to help a dog if it swallows a poison bait before it goes to the vet, this kit may also be an added element to the positive feedback loop, which means that people are not afraid of poison baits and they can use their dogs. But nevertheless, it is still a positive feedback loop element. And finally, one of the most important elements that came up from this analysis of both qualitative and quantitative data is that it's not enough to plan on an individual producer level with fragmented results. We need integrated planning at a landscape level in order to achieve the desired results. Thank you very much.
We thank you very much. We forgot to tell you that you can send your questions, those who attend through the platform. You can send your questions up to the completion of the presentations. I would like to ask the presenters to keep to the time assigned to them, and we should have finished by now, and we have 4 more presentations. Please be the briefest possible. The next speaker, Christian Redgen, is going to, she's member of the Secretariat of the European Platform regarding the coexistence of people, of humans and big carnivores. It is a platform that brings together various stakeholders, from the representatives of the big producers, the scientific community, environmental organizations, hunting associations, and so on and so forth. She, for 6 years, she has been cooperated with Callisto on supporting our project, and will give her the floor to talk us about this initiative, the initiative of this European platform. Christian?
The floor, if you can hear to us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for saying it in English as well, because I had a bit of a trouble with the translation. Can you see my screen? Is it working? My presentation?
Yes, okay.
Okay, great. So hello everyone, and thank you for the invitation. It's a great opportunity for me to be here and to present the EU platform on coexistence between people and large carnivores. I'm Christiane Röttger, working for Adelphi, which together with Callisto, we provide the secretariat of this EU large carnivores platform. I'm just going to present it briefly and then also say a few words about the regional platforms. Okay, so the platform was launched in 2014 with the aim to find and promote ways and means to minimize and wherever possible find solutions to conflicts between human interests and the presence of large carnivores. And to do that by exchanging knowledge and working together in an open-ended, constructive and mutually respectful way. And the members of the platform, there are 7 members, and I'm going to mention them later, have agreed to a set of key principles, namely to work within the EU legal framework, namely the Habitat Directives, to ensure that there is the necessary evidence and knowledge base to working together, to also recognize that there are socio-economic and cultural considerations and concerns that need to be taken into account, to find solutions to conflicts through a constructive dialogue, and to engage in transboundary cooperation. And they have also committed to certain ways of working together, which I'm going to mention just briefly. So the idea is really to share the experience for all the members, to share their expertise in addressing the challenges of human large carnivores coexistence, to do that in a dialogue, to seek consensus, and also to accept the fact that often there is no solutions that fit everyone, but there needs to be compromises. Then they need to accept or express a willingness to transfer and test those agreed solutions, and to listen to other stakeholders' experiences and views. And to do that, and of course to be open to the good practices and the expertise that is available for successful coexistence, and to disseminate information about that as well. And of course they should have the capacity to fully engage in the work of the platform. So currently there are 7 members that represent different interest groups, with each having their own network and members and constituents. So we have the ELO, the European Landowners Organization, FACE, the European Federation of Associations for Hunting and Conservation, the Finnish and Swedish reindeer herders, the CIC, the International Council for Game and Wildlife Conservation, IUCN, WWF, and the Europark Federation. And in terms of activities of the platform, there is one big component that's related to communication. So there is a regular newsletter and a bulletin. Of course, then there is the website, which is the main information platform with all sorts of different information, FAQs on management measures, case studies, but also statements or press releases from the different members. And one aspect of that communication is also to ensure there are synergies and links from the EU platform to also the regional and local platforms in Italy, Romania, Spain, Germany, France, and Sweden. And I'm going to mention those a bit more in detail in a minute. The platform meets every year to agree on and develop their annual work program. There is also regional and thematic workshops that are organized by the members in support of with the support of the Secretariat. And also there is, we are also collecting case studies that are then fed into the database on the platform, and gather information on and evaluating the national and regional platforms. The objectives of the communication approach is, of course, as I already mentioned, the idea is to share good practices, to also combat fake news with scientific facts, to raise awareness about the platform as a collaborative dialogue process, basically, for stakeholders, and to ensure or to promote the use of the information that is available. So there is a lot of good practice case studies available. There is information about funding and financing of coexistence activities. There is a well-researched FAQ, as I already mentioned, and a site with common misconceptions to address the issue of fake news. There is over 20 events that promote good practice and that are good documented, and then of course a lot of other materials, including videos, and one of them I'm going to show you also in a minute. Yes, and as I already mentioned, the links with the regional platforms is an important aspect that we're trying to have regular exchange between those platforms. There is presentations at the plenary meeting, and also the evaluation, which I already mentioned. And we are also now in the process of developing a toolkit, which is aimed to serve as a guideline or guidance for everyone, national, local authorities, or anyone else who wants to establish such a dialogue platform locally, and that addresses a number of aspects. What counts as a platform, and in which circumstances and conditions is such a dialogue platform a good way to promote coexistence, but maybe there is also situations where it's maybe not that helpful, and we're trying to work out the different aspects of that, and also, of course, what are the components of that dialogue process, what needs to be taken into account when setting it up and when running the meetings and the dialogue itself. Okay, now I have a short video which just highlights the platform and the links to the regional platform. Just going to show that quickly. It's just, I think, 1 or 2 minutes, and then I have another 3 slides. Okay, I'll click. I hope it's going to work out. No? Do you need to interrupt me if you don't hear it?
It's okay, Christian.
Okay.
However, we cannot hear sound. Now it's okay.
Many large populations in European recovered from near extinction in the last 50 years. Their partial recovery is a conservation success story. But brown bears, Eurasian wolves, wolverines also cause conflicts. For example, when wolves feed on livestock, or bears enter towns and on rare occasions attack people. Large carnivores are protected by law through the EU Habitats Directive. But this is not enough if those directly affected are not involved in discussions on their management. In 2014, the European Commission and land managers and herders, hunters and conservationists together established the EU platform on coexistence between people and large carnivores. The platform meets regularly and exchanges information on living with large carnivores in different settings. However, conflicts on large carnivores vary across the EU, therefore regional level dialogue is important.
When we set up the European Platform for Large Carnivores, the basic idea was bring together stakeholders. Now you can do that on the European level, but it's as important to do that at the regional level.
Following the model of the EU platform, regional platforms were established in different countries to support local dialogue processes. In facilitated discussions, livestock breeders, hunters, conservationists, authorities and animal rights activists express and acknowledge each other's positions and problems. This allows them to jointly develop actions to improve the local situation.
Although we will never agree on everything, discussions help us to find new solutions together. For example, hunting associations and hunters to be involved in conservation and research projects.
The experience with the EU and regional dialogue platforms show that stakeholders working together can find innovative solutions for coexistence with large carnivores.
Okay, great. Yes, so I'm just continuing. I don't know whether it's working. Yeah, you see and hear me again.
Yes, you can continue.
Okay. Just a few slides now about the regional platforms. So as you saw in the video, the objectives is really to get people together, to have different stakeholders with different positions and discuss the issues related to coexistence with large carnivores, and to understand the different views of the different stakeholders and try and reach a common understanding of the situation, and ideally then also a consensus about the type of actions that can be done together to improve the situation. And we are doing this guided by a set of key principles, which I thought would be important to highlight, namely that that we are neutral, and we are not going to, or in these processes, we are neutral with regard to the issue under discussion. Not so much about the process. So we will make suggestions on the process. But that can also, be guided by participants. Another important point is the equality in supporting every stakeholder in terms of their participation, and that every stakeholder can equally express their opinions and their viewpoints. Transparency in the way that decisions that the project team makes on the process and the reasons for them should be made transparent and clear for everyone to understand. And confidentiality in the way that often before the process, the dialogue platform is being set up, there is this a scoping study or a fact-finding missions where we do interviews with the different stakeholders to understand better the situation. And this information is being reported and being shared, but not linked to specific individuals. And so this is my last slide to just give you a rough overview of the current status of the regional platforms. So we have 6 platforms in Italy, in Grosseto, in Romania, in Harghita, in Avila, in Spain, in Lüneburg, Lüneburger Heath, that is in Lower Saxony in Germany, in Vercors in France, and in Sweden. It's a different project, but we are as you can see, we're involved. These regional platforms involve different steps. There is always a scoping study and a fact-finding mission, and then the process is being set up with workshops to identify the mission, what should the platform achieve, and then the implementation with a series of workshops. And as you can see on the right side, the actions, it's all these different platforms have different levels of implementation, and also different levels of what type of actions are being suggested for implementation. And the ones, especially in Germany and France and Sweden, are they have started later, and there are not yet clearly agreed activities or actions that could be implemented. Okay, I would leave it at this. I don't think I have time to go into more detail, but you can always find more information on the website of the EU platform, where you can find information also about the regional platforms. So don't, just have a look, access the website, or contact us for any further information. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Θα ήθελα να πω ότι, όπως είδατε και στο βιντεάκι,
would like to tell you in this video that a great emphasis is placed on avoiding dialogue and meeting only on the top level, but to have a bottom-up approach. And the project which is implemented, a platform was created in the National Park of Prespes, where these principles, neutrality, confidentiality, transparency, etc., were actually applied so that to have the best possible results. We thank you, Christiana. We go on, we'll make a slight change. Mr. Mitsopoulos is going to make his presentation now, and we leave Mr. Katsanos as the last speaker so that to connect the BEAR label with the awarding of the label to businesses.
I'll try and be as brief as possible. Good evening once again. I would like to thank the Life AMYBEAR partnership for their invitation. I shall present to you a topic which, as you shall see, is very timely because a lot has been done in 2021 regarding this topic, and more is to be done over the next few years. So, product certification in protected areas, and how can they be used as tools for local development, along with actions for biodiversity protection? Why is certification of products needed? Well, there are many challenges related to it, such as international competition. There is a demand for high quality of the products on offer. Current nutritional demands of consumers are changing constantly. Information needs to be provided to consumers. Certification should aim at improving the income of producers in the primary sector. It is important to have products that contribute to EU objectives regarding the preservation of biodiversity and reducing the environmental and climate footprint. We need to ensure sustainable production of food and access to adequate nutritional and sustainable food products. Within this new globalized environment, so we have complex challenges and a need to support Greek agricultural products, Greek producers and consumers. Agricultural products play a great role in the country's GDP, since we are a large agricultural country, which creates a new framework of demands and priorities with regard to the branding of agricultural products and food. Now, why certify products in protected areas? The objectives are the following. We need to have a conservation and strengthening of biodiversity in agricultural areas, strengthen the local economic development, protect social and economic cohesion, increase organic crops and or breeding, and develop additional services on a local level. So, all issues related to certification are stated in the directives of the EU. In many EU strategies, there are significant references to these issues, to certification of products. Therefore, in our country and in all countries, any plan certification should contribute to specific objectives. Regarding the strategy for biodiversity that was published in May 2020 and is valid until 2030, each country should aim to bring nature back to agricultural land, contribute to the plan for restoration of the nature in EU countries, and highlight the vital role of producers in the preservation of biodiversity in order to ensure their income. So the strategy from farm to fork aims at the following. Each plan certification should contribute to the following objectives: to reduce dependency on plant on plant pesticides and antimicrobial products which are used on plants, to enhance organic farming and the better treatment of animals, ensure sustainable production of food, to promote a new green entrepreneurial model and a circular economy with an organic basis, to promote the sustainable consumption of food and facilitate transition towards a healthier and more nutritious diet, and also to provide incentives for more sustainable practices in food processing, wholesale and retail trade, hospitality services, and catering services. Through the European Green Deal, certification should also contribute towards cleaner air, soil, water and biodiversity, contribute to healthy and economically affordable food, strengthening the tolerance and resilience of the EU food system, contributing to sustainable jobs and training in transition skills, and contribute to reducing the environmental and climate footprint of EU food systems. And according to the Common Agricultural Policy, certification should contribute to protecting biodiversity, strengthening ecosystemic services, the preservation of habitats and landscapes, contribute to ensuring a fair income for producers, and contribute to protection of the health and food quality. The same with the Common Fisheries Policy. So, the Hellenic Agriculture Organization Algodimitra has put together the standard Agro 9, which is a standard for the production of products in protected areas under the Natura 2000 network. According to the standard, we have requirements for the production, processing, sterilization, packaging, and/or sale of products. Sale and purchase of products from protected Natura 2000 areas, and for ensuring the origin of quality combined with protection, maintenance, and strengthening of the natural environment. This standard is applied on a voluntary basis by companies that produce, process, standardize, or package products which are produced in protected Natura 2000 areas according to its specifications. It has to do with agricultural products which are destined for human consumption, not for the use of animal feed. Food covered by Article 2 of Regulation 178 of 2002, and involve businesses that sell products from Natura 2000 protected areas produced according to the relevant standard, private label products, that is. After a broad consultation with all stakeholders, this specific standard does have many strengths, but also certain weaknesses, which involve a deficient and fragmented monitoring of the goals of the main European policies. There's a lack of incentives amongst producers and a lack of promotion of this standard to consumers regarding the importance of biodiversity, which leads to a partial incorporation of economic benefit in the added value of products. A lack of action for the monitoring of environmental protection and biodiversity in areas where the standard is applied, and a deficient monitoring of producers' response and monitoring of consumer response. So, in view of all these weaknesses, we have taken action and contacted the Ministries of Agricultural Development and Food, the Ministry of Tourism, and sent them detailed text regarding certification of products in protected areas, we have come to an agreement, and on Tuesday, the 9th of November 2021, a memorandum of collaboration was signed between the Organization for the Natural Environment and Climate Change, the Ministry for the Environment and Energy, the Ministry of Agricultural Development and Food, and the Ministry of Tourism. As a result, initiatives will be undertaken regarding a national system for product certification in protected areas. This system must include the elaboration of a certification and control system that will describe fully the certification process, the competent authorities, and how monitoring, controls, and corrections in case of deviation will be handled. Secondly, a certification plan needs to be elaborated based on ISO standards, which involves the creation of a portfolio regarding the implementation of the certification system for agricultural products and services, and the relevant portfolio should be submitted to the Greek Standardization Organization in order for the country to have a national system for the certification of agricultural products on biodiversity in protected Natura 2000 areas. Thirdly, we need to develop a system for the certification of tertiary sector services and products, such as a sign for tourism services, that relates to accommodation, catering, and tourism in nature, such as hiking, cycling, use of kayaks, etc. So what AMYBEAR did with the golden bear, we have used as an example in order to see how this action can be effectively used and have an added value linked to these services. Another example was what they do in the Samaria Gorge, where they award a golden goat to local accommodation. So the system is going to record existing practices that favor biodiversity in protected areas. It will also elaborate a typology for the development of standards for the production of agricultural products and services favoring biodiversity in these regions, and see how biodiversity regarding specific species and habitats can be connected to specific agricultural practices and other activities, as well as the development of socialized standards for the production of added value for the related products. Lastly, there will be standards developed based on the above-mentioned typology and 2-year monitoring of indicators using agro-envy indices from the EU. So we are also speaking about a comparative table of differences between the design standard and Agro 9. The new system that we are suggesting and that we have signed the agreement on has to do with the certification of products and local services on biodiversity in protected areas, whereas the ELGO system was simply a specification for the production of products from protective Natura 2000 areas. Secondly, in the first case, the organization is speaking about the creation of a national standard, and the advantage of this system that in future this may be financed through the CAP, and producers may receive financing for certification costs, and it may also be expanded to other EU member states, whereas the ELGO standard was only voluntary. Thirdly, the ELGO system only had to do with animal breeding, animal nutrition, and not grazing areas, whereas the new system focuses on grazing areas, which are also important habitats, which means that this standard will focus on management of grazing in a way that is beneficial to biodiversity and habitats. Other differences: the old standard meant that products were certified only if they were produced in Natura 2000 network areas, and some horizontal obligations were set, whereas, according to the new system, products will be certified according to their contribution to biodiversity. So biodiversity proofing will be used, using a typology for the production of a standard that will focus on protection of biodiversity in protected areas, using different commitments for producers on each occasion, depending on the area, the crop, the breeding, and the wildlife and habitats that benefit from this. the ALGO standard from the other standard from Dimitra in the past was limited to guidelines that focused on certification as a standard, whereas a new certification system that will include recording of existing agricultural practices favoring biodiversity in protected areas in Greece and elsewhere, a typology correlating agricultural practices, wildlife species and habitats, a typology for specific regions regarding crops, breeding, fishery products, and fish farms. There will be market research, development and registration of a logo, an awareness-raising campaign, monitoring of the practice, and development of a relevant portfolio to be submitted to the Hellenic Standardization Organization. This new certification system will provide added value to the products produced in these areas and will enhance local economic growth, social economic cohesion. It will help increase organic crops and/or breeding, and will help to develop additional services on a local level, helping overall the Greek countryside and Greek rural areas, because we want both species and types of habitats to grow and to be combined with strategies of many sectoral policies that have to do with biodiversity, agricultural development, fisheries, and agrotourism. Thank you very much. I hope I was brief enough in my presentation.
Ο ρόλος του ΟΦΠΚ στη διατήρηση βιοποικιλότητας και τη προστασία του περιβάλλοντος είναι πολύ σημαντικός και η θέτηση ενός τέτοιου προτύπου και η εφαρμογή από την εποπτεία σας νομίζω θα έχει τα καλύτερα αποτελέσματα. Όλα τα Υπουργεία
will have Mr. Yorgos Katsanos, environment engineer. He is going to present the promoting coexistence through bear-friendly products and services. I'll actually be very concise because we are pressed for time. I'm an environmental engineer. I work with leather. And as a member of the group Life AMYBEAR, I had the opportunity to cooperate with businesses of the area here in Aminto and Florina, so that to try and find practices and procedures for the certification of these companies and be able to manage the label, the brown bear label. All this was implemented by the Chamber of Commerce, and we thank Mr. Tsapalidis for that. The aim of this project was to see the reasons why a business may adopt a standard with environmental and quality criteria, why following certain procedures that will lead them to be awarded this label. This granting of the label starts raising the awareness and make make the businesses wishing to participate in these actions, to help all together the same ship, that is the protection and the showcasing of the natural heritage of our area, and to create synergies between the private and the public sector to the local economy. Such schemes have been implemented for many, many years abroad. Why not here? The award of the label comprises certain phases. We have a checklist so that to see what are the requirements already observed by the companies, help with the application form, the general requirements. Elisabeth Pavlidou, the first speaker, told us about that, requirements about the legal operation of the company and other requirements and criteria regarding mostly its how sensitive they are about environmental issues and how and what are the environmental efficiency of the companies with respect to water management, refuse management, and so on and so forth. And some more specialized one, which mainly addressed to more specialized businesses. We had some beekeepers. We took some beekeepers and we saw how we can go deeper into this system. The development of the standard and the application was developed by Lever. Then they filled in an application form, and then there is we have the signature of a contract with the Chamber of Commerce and each business separately, where they commit themselves to make good use of the logo, to participate in training activities and information activities, for example, in conferences such as this one, and to participate in various events through the website of the municipality of Florina. Thus, we reached to the point of signing the contract, signed by each company with Sapalidis. We did certain things about the first group. We tried to see the second set of requirements. We controlled the various, the fulfillment of the various requirements, and when successful, at the end, they were given a certificate of conformity. The more criteria you observe, the better and the higher is the level you achieve as far as the label is concerned. I don't know. I thank all of these businesses who are present here. Some of them are here actually. And this system and this effort will continue, and this is what the chamber wants to do, and the application form is addressed to himself. I thank you for your attention, and now I'll give the floor to Mr. Sapalidis, the president of the Florina Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and then we'll have an awarding session. Do you have any questions before awarding the labels? Okay, no, we must continue. Good afternoon. I'll start with something that impressed me on Facebook. You see this place and very easily you say, yes, it's a beautiful place, but it does not have life. A place that has 272 species of birds and so many species of pelicans, of endemic fishes, of carnivores, of large carnivores, and they say that this area is not alive. But you shouldn't allow our eyes to deceive us. If you seek intense human activity, go to the cities. A huge thanks to Lever and to the people who run the live program, the decentralized region of Epirus and Western Macedonia, Callisto, and various other organizations, especially Mrs. Pavlidou personally, who has been by us all the time, right from the beginning. She gave us the opportunity to understand the various issues concerning the label and to make our contribution with ideas and views. And I would like to thank the president of the management authority body of Prespes. He is Mr. Paraschos. He is a person who are profoundly interested in these issues. And since we are talking about coexistence, there we have the coexistence of humans and nature in a very harmonious way. Thank you, Panagiotis. Thank you for this experience and for this cooperation, which for me is really important. I am very ecologically aware, and people who are very fond of animals are usually good people. I thank everybody who supported us, businesses who participate in this effort. Means that they are good businessmen, they are interested in their environment, in the wildlife, and sometimes bears come down to the lowlands. We want to support all this effort by showcasing the role of the bear in the area, and through these awards. And these awards are important for the business community of Florina. And despite the memorandums and despite the crisis problems and the COVID pandemic problems, are still willing to try and ensure a better coexistence between the bear and the human beings, and by proving every day that the bear has a position in our everyday life. And we, as a chamber, we try to give also an economic dimension to that. How important is the bear this labor for the economic growth of these businesses and the area more in general. We saw very good practices, and we've learned a lot from other initiatives, how they transformed a fear into a comparative advantage for an area, an advantage that may greatly benefit an area which is in crisis. I am very sorry. I'm very tired. I do not present these issues in a very cohesive way, but my day started very early in the morning. But it is very fortunate that the live program shall continue, because this will give a new boost to these businesses. There will be more financial mechanisms and mediums to continue these efforts. We thank Mrs. Pavlidou. We thank you very much for this opportunity we've been given to participate in this program and provide our support to it. We'll do our best to contribute to the growth in the post-pandemic period. One of the comparative advantages of this area, and I'm very fond of ecology and ecological issues. I'll do really my best to help this issue of coexistence between the bear and the human beings. To conclude with one huge thanks, and I am very glad for this successful completion of this project, because for us this is a springboard. Will make the brown bear a point of reference in our area, will make people from Greece and from Europe to come to our area to see the brown bear. It is the king of the animals in our area, and we are very fortunate to have it in our area. The chamber will always be a supporter, and this effort will be promoted and will be publicized with all the means that the chamber has in its hands. I thank you very much for this support and for your efforts. I would like to thank you. It is us that should help you. You represent so many companies. You've been the best choice for us. We've been really very lucky that you've embraced it so eagerly. We've found businesses that were a little bit more advanced, and we managed to do that together, and we hope that we'll make this whole effort very well known beyond Florida, beyond Greece, and why not in Europe. I repeat that he's not speaking on the microphone, but he's reiterating that they are ready to support any similar effort. He is not speaking. He is not using the microphone, so we cannot really translate him. I heard Mr. Mitsopoulos, and really when he closed his presentation, you cannot have national parks in the area. And the products that you produce, for example, beans and other agricultural products, not to be recognizable in the Greek market because they do not use fertilizers, they are protected. We must connect all these things. The bear transforms the disadvantage into a huge advantage, and if we try to connect all these things, blend them together, we can give a very important boost to the area. And the business world should be very interested about that. One stage for the economic development of the area is also the promotion of the brown bear. Will immediately from tomorrow we'll start promoting this label and publicize that. We can promote that through special shops. We'll try and make these products visible and recognizable. Many people think that businessmen are not interested, but this is not true. Many businesses were enthusiastic about that, and many more will follow. Businesses, local businesses, are indeed interested about this coexistence and about the conservation of nature and nature in general. I don't see any award. We'll start with the silver ones.
επιχείρηση δικιά μας είναι για φάρμακα. Μιλάμε για ιωρικά φάρμακα.
So my company has to do with agricultural drugs used in agriculture, but nevertheless we have taken a step ahead and we have made a shift to organic farming, and we have incorporated about 150 producers in our agricultural production program in the area of Mamindou, and that's why we were interested in this certification. Mr. Panos Apostolos is also a financial supervisor of our chamber. Thank you very much and congratulations. Terra Greca Company, Mrs. Anastasiou.
Παραδοσιακά προϊόντα πιπεριά, σωστά.
The company sells traditional red pepper products. The Mana Company, red pepper products again. Open one up so that you can see exactly what the certificate looks like. It's a silver award, silver brown bear label. That I haven't mentioned, all these companies have helped us in volunteering efforts organized by the Chamber. So apart from awareness raising regarding human and bear coexistence, the Chamber provides food to 150 people at the local old people's home. All these businesses continuously support this effort, recently offering 1,300 kilograms of peppers by this company and the previous one, which support the feeding program for poor and lonely people at the old people's home and at people who are on the poverty line. We would really like to thank these companies for being so sensitive, not only towards wildlife, but also to their fellow human beings. All these companies are present here this evening. We continue again with the red peppers of Florida and the company AMYBEAR, Mr. Naumidis. Much. So the bottling and trade in Tsipuro, Mr. Thimiadis.
Βεβαίως. Πάμε στα χρυσά μας τώρα.
We move to the golden brown bear label.
Η εταιρεία Βιοφλό, κυρία Κατερίνη Κοτοπούλου.
Βιοφλό Company, Mrs. Tipopoulou, and standardization of food packaging products.
Συγχαρητήρια. Η κυρία Γυρίκη, τουριστικό κατάλημα στον Αετό.
Who has tourist accommodation at Aedos.
Μία δεν έχουμε, ο ένας λείπει. Αλλά last but not least που λένε, το μέλι Φλόρινας, το εμελάκι.
Last but not least, Mrs. Miska, representing το μελάκι μας, a company producing honey from Florida. Award to be presented. Mrs. Bandy is a beekeeper.
Σάβετ, θα πεις δύο λόγια στο κλείσιμο.
We've come to the end of today's event. And the first session, which was related to the social aspects of bear protection in the region. Thank you all for being here, in particularly the companies from the region who attended the event and who contributed, or rather did their utmost in order to apply bear-friendly practices in their daily business. Thank you very much. We will be expecting you tomorrow at 10 a.m. when we will continue with the presentations by the other speakers of the conference. I wish you all a pleasant evening.